Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Boy podcast. I'm Enrique Vince, my co host, and today we have a special guest. I'm excited about this one because, hey, I'm a user. So here we go. Vince is going to introduce.
User, we are indeed. I am so excited as well, Enrique. We're here with Charlynda Scales. She is the founder of Mutt Sauce LLC from Dayton, Ohio. So again, thank you for being on our show. Let's just start off and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm Charlynda Scales, country girl from the hills of Tennessee, transplanted to Dayton, Ohio through the military. I love what I do. Mutt Sauce is actually the story of my grandfather. His call sign was Mutt. He served in Korean Vietnam as an aircraft technician, served over 20 years, and he made that sauce. So the sauce is his brainchild. And I learned that I had inherited the only copy of the recipe when I was on active duty. So that's how it ended up in my hands and then ended up in your house. So.
Hey, in our house, indeed, because I told Charlynda a little story about my son. He's like, hey, are we using that sauce? Are we going to use the sauce? Because he absolutely loves it. So, Charlynda, congratulations on that. Way to take something that's legacy based and bring it to the world, right? And so we appreciate you for that. So tell us a little bit more about Mutt Sauce, the company.
Sure. So I was on active duty. So that was my top priority at the time. And, it's also a journey of self-discovery, self-actualization of what is your purpose? What is your why? And I'd always told myself that I want to serve, but I translated that to, I need to do 20 years or more. You're just going to have to drag me out of my uniform. I'm going to serve forever. So I thought that was my purpose. So when I got this piece of paper, I knew that was very important to my family. I knew that this was something we ate every day. And I wanted to make sure that I could kind of help with that grief. Some people were still grieving even 8 years after he had passed. And I said, well, maybe if I learned to make a couple of bottles, just like a couple bottles for friends and family, then that will kind of fill the void. And I sought mentorship because I'm not a chef, I'm not a business, I didn't own a business. So I Googled free help, free local help. And that's how I got to score.org, which is a nonprofit that's across the nation that helps anybody start their own business. So I walked in, I didn't have the expectation of starting a business. I was still looking for that. Someone's going to teach me how to can. Someone's going to teach me the process of canning something tomatoey. And my mentor, he started with, what is your ultimate desire? I said, I want to take care of my family the way that my grandfather took care of his children while he was serving. And, he had 5 kids. It was like they all have wonderful childhoods they talk about because of the experience that he gave them. I want all the generations of my family to be taken care of the way that he did. He's like, well, when it comes to multiple generational wealth, you can start your own company and that will solve that. He said, but you have to do the work of starting the company. And I was a little overwhelmed at first, but he gave me a checklist. I'm like, as the soldier mind, I'm like, oh my God, I love checklists. This is great. So I worked my way through it. 4 months after that, we had our first production. So that was the beginning of Mutt Sauce as the company. Was he took my desire to continue serving, my desire to help my family, and he just gave me a bigger picture of how I could do that, rather than, what I started out with. And I love the fact that he was right. I still feel like I'm serving my country, I'm serving other people, even as an entrepreneur.
That ultimate desire led to have this in my house. So
I love it.
I am just honored that you set up that mentor at score.org and here you are. Just curious, what year did you all start?
2013.
So 2013, here we are in 2021. So listen to that awesome journey that you have had. So now all of us had to repivot and reevaluate when the pandemic hit.
Mhm.
So how's Mutt currently doing, and how is it holding up with that whole pandemic?
We're holding up, but we were affected by the pandemic. I think it was a wake-up call for many entrepreneurs. They were probably had their plan, just like I had the plan of the military. And it was a very abrupt pivot, because at March of 2020, the day that they announced the pandemic, I was in the maternity ward at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, just having given birth to my first child, my son. So I'm there holding him when they come in and tell me that there's this massive pandemic, this worldwide pandemic that's happening, and that when I get released, I need to take my baby straight home and don't let him interact with anyone. So that was scary enough, but I realized I didn't have any clue of what was going on in the world because I wasn't watching TV. I didn't have my phone on. And as soon as they told me that, I was like, well, let me check to see if this is going to affect any of my 2020 plans, because I had the whole summer booked for events and festivals and trade shows and food demos, because we derive most of our revenue from in-person interactions. We're feeding you. That's how it's like the trust and believe, like you have to feed them in order for them to understand what you're trying to sell. So I turned my phone on and all I saw was this festival is canceled with no refunds. This event is canceled with no refunds. Every single event I had booked for 2020 was canceled. So there was zero prospect at that point for revenue coming in. I have a new baby and I'm going home to just figure this out. And that I think is a sink or swim moment for a lot of entrepreneurs. Is like, you have to find the path. You had to find the door. Stop staring at a wall and find the door. And the door for me was many of my mentors. You're going to get this all the time. Like, people try to tell you, you should really try this. And if you're hard-headed, you're gonna learn the hard way. So many of my mentors are saying that I should put more energy into e-commerce. And I would just, hard-headed, I said, well, who is buying food online? Who does that? It is not gonna last. And so I'm at home with cradling my baby on my laptop, like selling food online. How do I do this? And I had to learn from all over again how to relaunch Mutt Sauce, basically, is what we did in 2020. Since then, we have done well online. We also got like e-commerce contracts with QVC. So I have that one. I have another retailer that's coming up. We'll announce it soon, but we just dove into e-commerce. QVC was really great. We did about 19 pallets. When we did our first show, we did 19 pallets in 10 minutes. Sold out. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, 4,000 bottles in 10 minutes. So the power of e-commerce, I was like, I believe. I'm a believer. So it's challenging in a way, but I feel like this is kind of the new normal for many businesses, is embracing e-commerce, meeting people where they are. They want to be at home. They like shopping. They like the convenience of it just showing up on their front door. We're now on Amazon as well. So anywhere that people like to shop, we're trying to just put ourselves right there for you to hit the button and join the family.
A wonderful belief story, if any. I tell you, you talk about the questions that go through an entrepreneur's head, right? And all the possibilities that you can actually face, given a pandemic, given this has not been done before. At least no one recalls how this looks like, right? Because it did happen before and it's happened before. But to be wise enough to say, yeah, I might not know anything about that, but hey, how to, there's a power there, and being open to that type of uh, leadership, right? A leadership from outside to in, especially with your company, it takes a lot of growth and maturity to do that, because just like you said, stop staring at the door, or start finding that door. And I love that. So what's on the horizon for Mutt Source now that you've hey, QVC, wow, hey, a new one coming up, so things are moving. So what's on the horizon?
Well, it's just more refining processes. So we're good at, you want to be really efficient at a few things rather than kind of good at a lot of things. So I'm looking at our process, I'm looking at our sales and how well can we do online. There's still a lot of room for growth in our e-commerce store, muttsauce.com. There's still a lot more that we can do. Uh, we are developing another flavor. So there's a new flavor coming out. Actually, people have already tried it, but we're using a different collaboration. I'll just go ahead and say it. We're coming back with the bourbon that's made with real bourbon, which is different from any other brands. Other brands out there use bourbon flavoring. Ours is lit. So it is real alcohol. It is not for the kids. But I love the fact that when we do the bourbon, we assign ourselves, we attach ourselves to a charity. So it's going to be the local Humane Society. And I love giving back anytime I do these campaigns. So we're focused on that for the holidays, trying to get it out to people by Christmas. And we'll start the pre-orders will come up in a week or so. And just refining processes over and over. I'm just looking at how can we do this better? How can we lower our costs? It lets you figure out, well, hey, my boxes are costing me $1 a box. I could probably get these for 50 cents. And sometimes when you're in wholesale or you're doing in-person events, you don't have the time to just sit down and analyze because you're on the road so much. So I do like the bittersweet advantage of the pandemic has allowed me to organize things a lot better.
That's amazing that you're definitely adjusting and reanalyzing, especially the bittersweet. That should be a sauce too, right?
Yeah.
But and the exclusive you shared about the new sauce coming out was definitely coming right before the holidays. That's awesome. Can't wait to get it. It's not for the weak-hearted or the kids, but definitely looking forward to the bourbon. So now, Charlynda, let's transition a little bit. Talk about leadership, hence the leadership void. So for yourself, what professional development areas do you work on to improve your capabilities as a leader?
Many people might not realize this, but I'm 70% disabled veteran, and most of mine is from like anxiety. Well, at least my highest rating is on anxiety. And it manifests itself in ways that people might not realize. So if I give a speech, so I've given a TED talk, and before the TED talk, I remember it being my mom, my best friend, my assistant, one of the ladies from TED backstage trying to keep me from like totally flipping out because I'm like, I'm going to forget. I'm overthinking. I'm going to forget my whole speech. That's all I could internalize at that moment. What if, what if, what if? And they said, once you walk out there, you have to be confident in what your experience is, your preparation, and just know that you're ready. You might not feel ready. And that's what a lot of people deal with. Like, you don't have to feel qualified to be qualified. And so many will stop themselves before taking that leap into entrepreneurship or taking that leap and executing their dream because they're like, I don't feel like I'm ready. I don't feel like I'm qualified. That's not a prerequisite for you being the person to do it, being the person who needs to do it. So I've been working on that for a while. That's always the work in progress of, there's this thing that I want to do. I want to come out with a new flavor. Oh, well, what if they hate it? So I constantly silencing that inner critic that I know is just trying to build the wall inside. And I have to just keep finding the door and walk through it, whether I'm comfortable or uncomfortable, whether I'm scared. I just got to keep moving forward. So those are things that I'm working on as a person. I really want to build my team and look at what that means to build a team in a virtual environment, and what the expansion, scaling up Mutt Sauce looks like. Are we going to be all e-commerce when the stores start getting a little bit busier, which they probably will? What does that path look like for us? We have 86 Kroger stores. Do we want to have more than that? I don't know. We have to figure that out. So there's some things that are coming up in the next few months. I have to make some decisions, and I'm working on myself so that I'm in the best position to be a leader, and be a good teammate, and be a good servant to the people who follow Mutt Sauce.
Well, they say preparation meets opportunity, right? And that's what you're doing. And those opportunities will come, and you'll be ready for it. Now, you serve active duty, you're in the reserves, you're a major, and undoubtedly had opportunities to lead others. What advice did you get personally that helped you through that journey that you could share with someone that's starting off?
Oh man, there's so many. I love to serve. It's, when people will say thank you for your service, it's kind of hard because I'm like, I had so much fun. It's not like I had some interesting leaders too that I served under. One of my favorites, I was the program manager on the C-130. It was a C-130 platform. There were a few programs in there. A center wing replacement. We replaced the center wings on the H&J models. And I was on a firefighting program, the Military Airborne Firefighting System, which is basically a roll-on, roll-off tank. So they roll the tank into the C-130, strap it down. So when you see the California wildfires, which I was one of the program managers for, they spray the retardant around the fire to contain it. Well, my supervisor was retired chief, and he was the crustiest of chiefs. And when I'm like, if there was an award for being crusty, he was it. But historically, he didn't have women work for him. And, we've come a long way with these like social gender norms and stuff, but he was that guy that the rules, you knew, it's like, that is so wrong. There's so many red flags, but they just kind of pat him on the back like, oh, he's just different. He's like, I don't like having girls on my team. I'm gonna let you know, because y'all whine and cry and you make excuses. And I was like, oh, the misogyny, what in the world? And he said, if I tell you to build me a house, those is examples. I tell you to build me a house and I walk away and I tell you when I need the house, I'm not asking you to tell me how you did it. I just want you to deliver a house. Okay. But I looked at, that's why I look at, wall versus door now, because I'm like, he would be focused on get the mission done, find a way, because your customer is out in California working with the Forest Service. People are actively having their homes destroyed at every minute. We have got to find a way to put it out. Now, if you use stuff like, we're back and forth with politicians who are saying, oh, well, you need to have this unit come and save us because for political reasons, we're like, we're going to put out the fire. We don't care how we do it. If it ticks you off, okay. But we're going to put out the fire because people are dying, and people's houses are being burned down. So I love that kind of leadership. I had that kind of leadership, that no holds bar, kind of in your face, no excuses leadership. I've had leaders that were really charismatic and they thought about what their people needed, even if it wasn't in their nature. I had one commander, he was a colonel about to pin on brigadier general, and he said, "I'm not a people person, but everybody thinks I am. You know why? Why? Because I have staff like you." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Your job is to care about the people and to make sure that I know what the people are doing, even if it's not on my mind." So I had to keep up with everyone on the staff and their birthdays and stuff like that. If they accomplished something, so that recognition of doing well. He said, "That does, I know that it does that for people. Frankly, I'm not thinking about it ever, but I know that it's important. So write it on a postcard." And he would memorize the postcard. So we're going to go tell Steve that he did a good job helping us deliver a product early. Commander has no clue, reads the postcard, memorizes it in the hallway on the way down, gets everybody together. "Steve, I just want to tell you that you did such an excellent job." He has memorized his card in the 10, 15 seconds walk. And as he's telling me, you just see Steve just like, he cares. Oh my God, he cares about me. And what does that do? I mean, it just raises morale and stuff. But I was like, wow, you have to pay attention to your people, even if it's not in your nature. He understood the importance of taking care of your people and recognizing your people. Very introverted guy. So those are the couple things that I walk away with, that I would tell them, like, the things that you learned in the military are your superpower. Even your core values, which are now, you look at the past couple of years, I'm like, where's empathy and humility and integrity and service before self? All these things don't cost a dime. They're in you. But you'll quickly realize how that is a rare thing in some circles.
Absolutely. I definitely love the two stories. First about the crusty chief, and let me say, as a diversity superintendent of in the Air Force, we don't have chiefs like that anymore because we're all inclusive and
Right?
we all value everybody's differences. So I say to folks, don't edit yourself to be, to take care of others. So, and of course, to your point about the colonel that pinned on the BG, Brigadier General, it is about caring for the people. A small little token of appreciation goes a long way. Then folks will take the shirt off their back to go to war for you. So definitely great examples. I love being the superpower that you get from the military. It's so great to hearing all that, Charlynda. So let's talk about challenges. And sometimes if you look at a wall and you have to find a door, but sometimes you have to find a window, right? So, so talk about challenges. How do you handle challenges either you faced or currently facing?
Well, the other thing that I think is good and bad that I see a lot of military folks deal with is compartmentalization. And it's something that we do well, and sometimes that's not good because you can't control, you put things in a box. And if things are crappy at home, or you're having to deal with your own internal struggles, maybe you have PTSD and you're undiagnosed, but you still have to go out and get the job done. There's a lot of things that we will stick in a box and not deal with it because there's something more important and right in front of us at the time. So how I face challenges, I compartmentalize like a pro. So even when the pandemic was happening, I could be sitting there rocking my baby, crying my eyes out, going, I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke. Oh my God. I'm also the caretaker of both my parents. I'm the sole breadwinner in the entire house of 4. So I could have just sat there and did the woe is me, but I just did not have time for the nervous breakdown that I truly deserved. And you just have to keep going. So compartmentalization is how I look at challenges. I do like the hierarchy of bad. Okay, well, how bad is the situation compared to something else? Oh, not that bad. Like, I remember that was really bad. So I'm going to survive. And I have this mantra, and it's, if you believe in something bigger than yourself, rock bottom has a trampoline. And that is my personal solid, if you had to put it on my gravestone, put that. If you believe in something bigger than yourself, rock bottom has a trampoline, because you're never truly alone. I think a lot of the challenges that people have when it comes to these rock bottom moments is they've convinced themselves that they're the only one going through it, that nobody else identifies with their struggle, that no one cares. And that despair feeling keeps people from recovering. And I want them to know that even at your lowest moment, there's someone who's been there. There's someone who understands that pain. There's someone who understands that struggle. And even if they're not in your close proximity, all you have to do, you're probably only 2 degrees separated from that person now. Because of the internet, because of technology, I found myself identifying with Damon John. I was like, he was raised by a single mother. He basically had to work at Red Lobster. He worked a full-time job at Red Lobster for several years as he built the business. So it wasn't something where he just jumped off the cliff and said, I'm just going to jump into entrepreneurship. No, he said, I can't afford to do that. I have people to take care of. I have family to take care of. And so he's been very transparent lately about that. But I found that I resonated with him personally and professionally, even though at that point I had not met him yet. And, but in those rock bottom moments, even at my lowest point, I was going publicly, everything looked great. I just won Bob Evans 2017, top veteran-owned business in the country, identified by them. They'd given me the mentor. I finally met Damon John, even though I've been rejected at Shark Tank back in 2014. So it's like, oh my God, this blessing is manifesting itself. And I stood there and at this event, I was singing praises not only to my family, but to my military spouse that I had at the time. I was like, I'm the luckiest person. It's my best friend. Oh my gosh. Did not realize the very next week I'd be sitting in an empty apartment with nothing after having left my marriage abruptly. And that, to me, when everyone's like, you're on the news almost every day, you're in publications almost every day, how do you keep going when you're emotionally at your lowest point you've ever been? And I looked at it like, these rock bottom moments are also redefining moments. They're reset moments that have been given to you. If you decide to look at it that way, they've been given to you to look at your path and learn that you're actually not supposed to go this direction. Well, I had to get your attention. You have to go this way. And that's what I learned. I said, my family is so important to me. This journey with Mutt Sauce is very important to me. I was so distracted by so many things that now it's just me in this empty apartment and there's no noise and I can focus. And what do I need to do? And so I just took that. It was 4 months of me in that place alone. Nobody really knew that I was going through that. But the trajectory of Mutt Sauce happened, I think, because of that. So it's a matter of perspective, perception of how you look at those moments.
And definitely moments of change. You know, you talk and a couple of things popped up in my head. One has to do with Minecraft, but I won't share that. But the other is, you know, change comes, it doesn't have a package. So you can't identify it immediately.
Yeah.
It's only when it's right at your doorstep that you're like, whoa, what is this? And now it's in my hands. What am I going to do with it? So you took this period where it required some change from you. There's some people that are going through those moments of change right now. So what can you share with them as far as strategies to be able to deal with that change? Because you swam, but some people sink.
Yeah. And I do realize not everybody has that story of how they recovered quickly from it. Um, but there are some things that you can do. One of my favorite quotes from Abraham Lincoln is, if I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend 4 hours sharpening my axe. And the sharpen the axe mantra mentality is, take the time to get your house in order. Remove distractions if you still have them. Outsource what you suck at. If you can, give it to somebody else. Stop thinking that you're the only one that should be doing things. There's some things that don't require your skill set. Like I wasted some time, this example, email marketing. I was like, I'm going to set up my own email newsletter, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to learn how to do it. I mean, it was like a month and a half. And someone asked me, do you have a newsletter? I'm still learning. I'm still trying to, set it up. And they're like, why don't you just hire so-and-so and have them do it? It'll take them like 8 hours, literally 8 hours. And I was like, is that easy? Yes. Yes, do it. Stop driving yourself crazy. So some people, it's also the exercise of ego. Like, you are not the person. You don't have to be the person to do everything. Somebody out there really does do it better than you do, and you should, give it to them. Time blocking. So that was one thing that helped me, especially as a mom. I know that balance does not, for me, I don't subscribe to balance. Balance doesn't exist, because if you have your attention on one thing, you do not have your attention on something else. How do you, it's just not possible. So the only way to solve this lack of balance, right? Like, the only way to solve this lack of balance is to communicate clearly expectations. Expectation management, we would do it all the time in the military. Hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z by this date, and this, this is who you give it to. So we did that, but we need to translate that into our personal lives as well. Anybody who's affected by this journey that you have decided, do not forget that this is the path that you've decided to walk down or jump off that cliff. You woke up and were like, I'm going to do that. But just like military families, we tell them now, like, you have a spouse or kids, military kids, we thank them for their service, because guess what? When you went on that deployment, they were affected by your absence. They supported you. They sent the care packages. They're there when you get hurt. They're there when things are going great. They're sacrificing time, energy, everything, while you're deciding to serve your country. And it's the same thing if you decide to start a business or go into a professional venture. They're affected by what you do. And when you have days when you're knee deep in paperwork, head down in stuff, editing, whatever you're doing, the quality time is not with them. So you have to do that expectation management of, okay, I'm going to time block from 10 to 11. I'm going to be in the room doing this interview. And then from 11 to 12, me and little David, we're going to go for a walk. Are you excited? I'm going for a walk with you at 11. Yay. All right. Plan, we have a plan. So that's a couple things. So time blocking, sharpen the axe, take the time to peel back the layers of your business and see what's going right, what's going wrong, and what you need to give to somebody else. And give yourself some grace. Just be in the practice of giving yourself some grace, because this whole digital age will make you think that all you got to do is a couple steps, and next thing you know, you're standing next to a private plane and a Bugatti with your shades on because you did day trading or something crazy. They don't let this world fool you. Don't get into the comparison situation, because behind the scenes, there's so many of us who are dressed up from the waist up, looking good for a close up, but we're still wearing fluffy house slippers underneath the table. So.
Oh my God, dressed up from the waist up. I mean, you are so real, Charlynda. I love everything you shared. I hope one day this is in a book or a story because this is great. I mean, great pearls of wisdom. You know, I love the fact that you said rock bottom has a trampoline. That's huge in so many levels. How to redefine that new norm is great. You know, and the song that comes to mind is "Let It Go." Let it go. Let it go. Right. But no,
Mhm.
this is great. And for folks that want to reach you, Charlynda, or want to know more how to get this wonderful sauce, how do they go about contacting you or the company Mutt Sauce?
Absolutely. So you can go to muttsauce.com. If you want to join the Mutt Sauce family, we'd love to have you. Put your name down on our newsletter list so you'll be the first to know when that bourbon hits for the holidays. And if you want to reach me, my handle is at Charlynda Jean, Jean. That's actually a reminder of myself that I'm my grandmother's child. Joyce Jean is my grandma. So I'm my grandmother's baby. And you can reach me there on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Yeah, that's how you can
Absolutely.
reach me.
I tell you I I was over here almost doubled over with the last comment, but it's wonderful to hear all that from a perspective of a person that's gone through challenges, change, entrepreneur route, the service. It's just so motherhood. Oh my Lord, I remember the pictures. I remember the announcement. I was so tickled to see the young man, Mutt Sauce Jr. coming around, taking, the legacy. You talked about legacy, your desire to have this in the hands of your family. There goes the air, right? It's so wonderful to see it play out in real time. And folks, so reach out to Charlynda. If you want to reach out to us, the leadership void at gmail.com is our email. If you want any topics covered on the leadership arena that you want Vince and I to cover, please send it there. If you want a guest or know of a guest that would do great on the show, please send it there as well. But Charlynda, once again, thank you for being with us today. It's been such a great time to listen to you once again. There's so much to this story that's yet to be written. And so we're going to be happy to follow it throughout. But best wishes to you, your boy, the company, your service, your continued service in the reserve. And hopefully we'll see you on that list for the light colonel here not too long from now.
Hey, well, thank you so much, Enrique and Vince. I had a good time.
Well, it was double our pleasure, honestly, to have you. So, but couple other things, folks that are listening to our audience, we definitely have a radio check episode that we check in our brothers and sisters in arms and our first responder because we don't want to make sure you're lonely. Hey, we have the opportunity to gather together, just break bread on the social platform here on LinkedIn Live on the 1st and the 15th at 1900, which is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Other things we're doing, we are reaching our 200 subscriber goal. And if you hit subscribe in our YouTube channel, you're going to be entered into a drawing to this book, The Standing You Owe by Scott McGregor, Lessons in Gratitude. And next week, we go to another wonderful veteran speaking in the community. And these episodes are grateful for our sponsor, platinum sponsor from the home team of Ron Point Mortgage Service Corporation. But today we're just honored to have Charlynda Scales here and enjoying, folks. Please don't forget to buy this great Mutt sauce because it is amazing. Thank you.
Thanks.